Our story begins with Gotoubun, who was once a human named Tomokui Kanata in his previous life. He dies in a tragic way, but instead of disappearing, he is reborn in a new body. The moment he wakes up, he finds a green monster standing in front of him. Shocked by his surroundings and slightly frightened, he listens as the creature tells him that his new name will be Gotoubun. The next day, he finds himself surrounded by a group of baby goblins. By the third day, he notices that he has already grown much bigger because goblins mature far faster than humans. On the fourth day, the old goblin gives them some food and tells them that it will be the last meal they receive from him. From now on, each of them must find food on their own. After that, Gotoubun leaves the cave and looks around in amazement. The plants and birds surrounding him are unlike anything he has ever seen before. At that moment, he realizes that he has not only been reborn, but has also been sent to a completely different world. During that time, he talks to one of the goblins who grew up alongside him and learns that his name is Gobukichi, since he could not remember it before. Gotoubun also admits that he chose to stay close to him because Gobukichi is the biggest among the children, making him an excellent hunter who can easily provide food for both of them. Gobukichi soon starts hunting, and it seems incredibly easy for him. After catching their prey, he immediately tries to eat it, but Gotoubun playfully punches him and tells him that it is wrong to eat alone since they hunted it together. Afterward, Gotoubun takes the strange rabbit horn they obtained, and a mysterious screen suddenly appears before him. He has no idea what it is, while Gobukichi stands behind him, starving. Since they cannot make sense of it, the two simply begin eating. On the fifth day, Gotoubun uses the horn he got earlier to hunt another horned rabbit. After cutting off its horn, the strange screen appears once again and informs him that he has obtained the horn of a medium creature. Gotoubun shouts in surprise, but Gobukichi is confused because he cannot see anything at all. That is when Gotoubun realizes that these messages are visible only to him. Suddenly, while they are eating, another message appears. This time, it grants him the escape skill. Gotoubun finally begins to understand what is happening. He explains that absorption was the rare, unique skill he was born with in his previous world, and it seems that this new ability works in a very similar way. After that, Gotoubun continues hunting, but he realizes that most of his earlier success was nothing more than luck. If he wants to survive, he has to become much stronger because this world is filled with extremely dangerous monsters. On the sixth day, a girl named Gobumi appears. She looks both excited and surprised when she sees Gotoubun and Gobukichi eating horned rabbits. She tells them that someone died a few days ago because of those rabbits. Hearing that, Gotoubun invites her to join them on tomorrow's hunt. The seventh day arrives, but heavy rain begins pouring down, forcing them to postpone the hunt with Gobumi until the weather clears. While waiting, Gotoubun decides to check the storage room to see if he can make a new weapon. As soon as he enters, he is shocked to find several kidnapped human women inside. However, he ignores them and continues working on his weapon. Meanwhile, the old goblin Gobuji, the chief of the cave and their leader, appears and tells Gotoubun that he is evolving at an incredible speed, perhaps even beyond their expectations. Gotoubun is confused when he hears him talking about levels, so Gobuji tells him to hit his own head twice with his hand in order to see his level. Gotoubun follows the instructions and discovers that his level has already reached 86. Gobuji then explains that once he reaches level 100, he will be able to evolve into a more advanced being. Gotoubun also learns that even though Gobuji looks extremely old, he is actually still in his 20s because goblins age very quickly. Before leaving, Gobuji tells him that the village's young hunters will be returning soon, and Gotoubun will finally get to see what evolved goblins look like. Then he laughs mischievously as he wonders what kind of prey they will bring back this time. On the eighth day, Gobumi officially joins their hunting party. Their roles become perfectly organized. Gobumi provides support, Gotoubun fights at mid-range, and Gobukichi serves as the frontline attacker. Thanks to this teamwork, hunting becomes incredibly easy. After finishing the hunt and eating their meal, several system messages appear before Gotoubun, informing him that he has gained new skills: heat detection, poison resistance, search, and evil eye. He realizes that he received these skills from the snake they hunted, which must have been a high-level creature. The 9th and 10th days pass with the three of them continuing their usual hunting routine. On the 11th day, they make a serious mistake by entering a cave out of curiosity. Inside, they discover a group of incredibly fast bats that they cannot catch. Gotoubun immediately activates his evil eye skill, causing every bat to freeze in place, allowing the group to eliminate them with ease. After eating the bats, Gotoubun gains several more skills, including echolocation, vamp up, and vamphilia. While they are eating, another group of goblins around their age secretly watches them from a distance, clearly starving. On the 12th day, several of those goblins surround Gotoubun at night, planning to attack him. However, his search skill is still active even while he sleeps. He senses their presence, wakes up before they can do anything, and teaches them a painful lesson. Suddenly, one of the goblins collapses after being poisoned by Gotoubun. At the same time, Gobumi jumps in and attacks the remaining goblins who tried to hurt him. On the 13th day, the three encounter a fairly powerful orc. Even so, Gotoubun defeats it almost entirely by himself. After eating it, he gains new skills such as orc language and detection analysis. Once they finish eating, some of the meat is still left over. Gotoubun carries it back to the cave so the rest of the group can eat as well. That night, countless system messages appear before Gotoubun. However, he is exhausted and only wants to sleep, so he accepts every message without reading any of them. When he wakes up the next day, he is stunned to discover that his appearance has become remarkably similar to how he looked in his previous life before he died. He also notices that Gobukichi's appearance has changed as well. Gobuji is completely shocked when he sees their levels because not even a full month has passed since they were born. After that, Gobukichi wants to test his new strength and challenges Gotoubun to a duel. The battle begins, and both of them display far greater speed and power than before. Even so, Gotoubun ultimately wins the fight. Right after the battle ends, they hear a strange sound that suggests danger is approaching. Gotoubun immediately tells Gobumi to bring the crossbow they built together. Elsewhere, a massive pack of wolf-like monsters appears and begins hunting rabbits and orcs one after another. Gobumi kills one of the wolves with the crossbow, officially starting the battle. During the fight, it is revealed that Gotoubun had coated all of Gobumi's bolts with poison beforehand. That single preparation gives them a huge advantage, allowing them to wipe out the entire pack. Only the pack leader remains. It has already fallen unconscious because of the poison, and the moment it tries to stand up, it collapses once more as the poison completely takes its life. After eating its meat, Gotoubun gains several new skills: wild hunting, hide armor, and system ability. Afterward, Gotoubun returns to the rest of the group with the remaining food. He tells them that he wants them to hunt the same amount of food he has been bringing back for everyone. However, they admit that they do not know how to hunt. Hearing that, Gotoubun tells them that he will personally teach them how to hunt, then asks them to get up from the ground because, from now on, they are all friends. Suddenly, Gotoubun hears everyone calling his name and thanking him. It seems that this is the effect of the system ability he recently acquired. Several days pass until the 17th day. Gotoubun wakes Gobuji and tells him that something terrible has happened. All of the women who had been held captive have taken their own lives by using poison. By the 26th day, Gotoubun and Gobukichi are training the rest of the group. During that long period, Gotoubun also continues hunting new monsters non-stop in order to gain even more skills. Meanwhile, they spot a group of goblins approaching from a distance while carrying swords. Gotoubun and Gobukichi immediately charge toward them, believing they have come to attack. However, Gobuji stops them and explains that these goblins belong to the generation before theirs and are considered the fathers of their generation. After they return, Gotoubun notices that the group has also brought several tied-up girls with them. Gotoubun approaches their leader and asks him to let him take care of the girls. The man becomes furious and grabs Gotoubun, causing both groups to prepare for a fight. At that moment, Hobusato and the purple-haired Hobusei step in. They suggest that the leaders of the two generations settle everything with a duel. Whoever wins will become the leader of the entire village and decide its future. The match must be fought without using any weapons. The duel begins, and Gotoubun wins with ease thanks to the silk production skill he obtained after devouring a demon spider. Hobusato and Hobusei are left speechless by his strength, and Gotoubun officially becomes the leader of the village. Afterward, Gotoubun takes the girls to a place far away from the other goblins. He promises to protect them, but in return, he asks them to teach him everything they know about humans and how people live in this world. As they tell him about everything the goblins did to them, they break down in tears. Gotoubun quietly leaves them alone and walks away. On the 28th day, Gotoubun is surprised to see that the girls have become much more positive. It seems they have realized that cooperating with each other will make life much easier. Gotoubun prepares food for them and explains that humans in this world do not evolve as quickly as goblins, but they possess a wide variety of skills. One of the girls is both an architect and a blacksmith. The twin sisters are skilled in both cooking and sewing, while the girl wearing glasses is an alchemist. As for the red-haired girl, she is still weak in combat, so Gotoubun decides to include her in his training later. After that, Gotoubun begins training everyone in the village. His main goal is to make all of them stronger, so he spends much less time hunting during this period. On the 31st day, while heavy rain falls outside, Gotoubun and Gobukichi have another sparring match as usual. Everyone watches the duel, fully aware that the two of them have reached a level far beyond anyone else in the village. That night, after everything settles down, Gotoubun senses that several members of the older generation are planning to sneak into the girls' shelter. They still see the girls as their own spoils of war and believe that no one else has the right to interfere. Just as expected, they enter the place where the girls are staying, but Gotoubun is already waiting for them and captures every one of them. Afterward, he apologizes to the red-haired girl before apologizing to the rest of the girls as well. The red-haired girl immediately bursts into tears. Suddenly, Gobukichi, Gobumi, and several other goblins enter the area. Gotoubun then decides to hold a meeting. He wakes up everyone in the village so they can witness what he is about to do. He begins beating the goblins who attempted to assault the girls. After that, he looks at the rest of the villagers with a smile and says, "Now you all understand the village's rules, don't you?" The following morning, the leader of the group who received the harshest punishment dies. On the 32nd day, Gotoubun heads out to hunt with his group. After a difficult battle, they successfully bring down a three-horned horse. Because the monster is so powerful, Gotoubun gains a large number of new skills. Afterward, he tests one of them called Triple Thrust, which allows him to perform 3 thrusts in a single attack. On the 33rd day, a girl named Gobue reaches the evolution stage as well. Meanwhile, the village's training becomes much more organized. Gobukichi takes command of the close combat unit, while Gobumi leads the long-range unit. Hobusato becomes the commander of the light shield unit. Gobue is placed in charge of the rear support unit, while Hobusei, the only mage in the village, becomes the leader of the magic unit. Now that the village's training is running safely under capable leaders, Gotoubun decides to venture deep into the forest to hunt a wider variety of monsters. During his journey, he tests one of his offensive magic skills and easily kills another 3-horned horse. After that, he continues deeper into the northern forest, where he notices strange tracks and patches of blood. At that moment, he remembers Gobuji's warning to never enter the northern forest because it is the territory of the red bear. Soon, he discovers the completely shattered armor of a 3-horned horse. That immediately worries him because his entire group needed tremendous effort to break through that armor, yet someone had destroyed it with ease. Suddenly, the red bear appears before him. Gotoubun should have run away, but he loves fighting too much. Instead, he laughs and begins thinking of a way to defeat it. The battle begins, and Gotoubun uses the same offensive magic skill he tested earlier. Meanwhile, Gobumi becomes worried about him. She starts searching everywhere and asks everyone if they have seen him, but no one knows where he went. Returning to Gotoubun, he manages to cut off one of the bear's arms before rushing toward its head and landing a direct strike. However, the bear's hide is unbelievably tough, preventing him from piercing it. He then tries to restrain it with spider threads, but the bear tears through them with ease. Suddenly, the bear breathes flames from its mouth, setting the entire forest ablaze. Gotoubun suffers severe burns and is forced to hide while treating his injuries. After recovering enough to move again, he returns to the fight. This time, he decides to charge directly through the flames after covering his body with water magic. His plan is to attack the bear from inside its mouth, so he will not have to break through its nearly impenetrable hide. For a brief moment, Gotoubun believes he has won. However, a powerful blow suddenly crashes into the middle of his back, sending him flying and leaving him badly wounded and bleeding. The bear slowly approaches him. Gotoubun struggles back to his feet while his sword remains lodged inside the bear's mouth. He has no choice but to continue fighting, even though he knows that one more direct hit will be enough to kill him. Even so, Gotoubun laughs, pulls out his axe and declares that he is starving and wants to taste the bear's meat. Those words fill him with an overwhelming rush of adrenaline. He becomes stronger than ever before and finally manages to kill the red bear, although his arm is severed during the battle. Afterward, he begins devouring the bear and gains 2 new abilities: massive damage and overwhelming strength. Soon after, Gotoubun loses consciousness. During that time, he selects yes in the system, allowing himself to evolve into the next stage. On the 35th day, he continues devouring the bear and gains a huge number of additional abilities. After that, he grabs his sword to cut pieces of the bear's body and carry them back to the village. However, he is surprised to discover that the sword has become far too small for his newly evolved body. When he finally returns to the village, everyone is horrified and believes that an ogre is attacking them. Only Gobumi realizes that it is actually Gotoubun. Furious that he disappeared for so long, she scolds him before punching him. However, instead of hurting him, she ends up hurting her own leg. Gotoubun then tells everyone everything that happened. They are completely stunned because the red bear is powerful enough to defeat an ogre with ease. Yet Gotoubun managed to kill it even though he was still only a goblin. After the gathering ends, Gotoubun approaches the twin sisters and asks them to make clothes that fit his new size. However, they tell him that they will need assistance because the work will take a long time. Gotoubun then says that he will bring some goblins to help them. What makes this situation surprising is that goblins and humans are supposed to be enemies, yet Gotoubun has managed to bring them together and make them work as a team. After that, Gotoubun meets the alchemist who has created a poison. He asks her what she plans to use it for, and she explains that she made it to protect herself. However, after meeting a trustworthy goblin like him, she no longer feels that she needs to use it. On the 36th day, Gotoubun is unable to train as usual because every goblin gets injured, even when he attacks them gently. Even Gobukichi's armor nearly breaks, forcing Gotoubun to cancel the training session. Gotoubun notices that Gobukichi looks upset and asks him what is wrong. However, Gobukichi denies that there is any problem and tells him that he is going out to hunt. Everyone continues their day normally, while Gotoubun keeps himself busy sewing his clothes. Even so, he remains worried about Gobukichi. That day becomes one of the calmest days Gotoubun has experienced since being reborn. On the 37th day, after finishing his training, Gotoubun discovers a creature known as a carbuncle suffering from severe injuries. He immediately begins treating her, but he is forced to ask the alchemist for help because the carbuncle has lost a large amount of blood. After recovering, the carbuncle thanks them and introduces herself. She explains that her name is Returner and that she was attacked by humans some time ago. They were trying to capture her because the jewel inside her body is extremely valuable. Returner then asks Gotoubun and his group to help her drive those adventurers away. Gotoubun later explains that they discovered Returner was not an ordinary carbuncle. She was an artificial carbuncle created by a legendary mage named Velvet, who also owned a secret vault. They also learned that the core keeping Returner alive was damaged during the humans' attack. This means that she does not have much time left to live. Gotoubun becomes extremely curious about the vault and expects it to be filled with legendary weapons that Velvet collected throughout his life. Returner also tells them that her master deeply hated humans. He hated them so much that he preferred to leave his legacy to goblins rather than allow it to fall into human hands. In the end, she announces that she will give Gotoubun and his companions everything inside the vault. Gotoubun prepares to leave, causing the red-haired girl to become worried because she believes that he intends to kill those humans. However, Gotoubun reassures her and confirms that he has no intention of killing them. He only plans to drive them away. When they arrive at the vault, Gotoubun tells the rest of the group to hide while he goes alone to speak with the adventurers. He meets them and tries to reason with them, but they refuse to listen and immediately attack him. They believe that he is nothing more than a weak ogre, while in reality, he is a rare ogre rather than an ordinary evolved one. Gotoubun blocks their attack and tells them that this place belongs to someone he knows. They have no right to invade it, kill the one living there, and steal everything inside. However, they respond arrogantly and continue attacking him. Gotoubun easily avoids their attacks and warns them that he will not hurt them if they leave immediately. Still, they ignore his warning and continue fighting. During the battle, one of them manages to fire an electric attack that strikes Gotoubun directly in the face. They believe they have defeated him, but he emerges completely unharmed, causing his anger to rise. Because of that, Gotoubun defeats all of them and takes their magic items, armor, and every other possession they carry. To everyone's surprise, he even devours the magic items themselves. By doing so, he gains a new group of skills. After everything ends, Returner tells him that the body lying beside her belongs to the mage Velvet. Suddenly, Returner begins to disappear until nothing remains except the stone that once served as her core. Gotoubun devours it and gains the golden system skill. After everyone observes a moment of silence to mourn Returner, they begin gathering every valuable object inside the vault. Once they have taken everything they need, Gotoubun refuses to leave the mage's body behind and burns it out of respect. After the body is completely burned, Gotoubun finds a piece of armor shaped like an arm. The moment he puts it on, something strange happens. The armor transforms into a real arm that can move freely in every direction through a full 360 degrees, almost like an artificial limb. After that, everyone returns to the village and holds a celebration. On the 38th day, Gotoubun visits the blacksmith and asks her to examine all the equipment they obtained from the vault and the adventurers. On the 39th day, he distributes the magic items among the villagers who evolved into hobgoblins, the second stage of goblin evolution that he had previously reached. As for Gotoubun, he receives the Crimson Spear Kazaklu, along with his silver arm and magic bracelet. With that, he becomes the owner of 3 legendary items. He also explains that items are ranked as normal, rare, unique, ancient, legendary, and finally phantasmal, which is the highest rank of them all. Thanks to the items he gives the other villagers, hunting becomes much easier, and everyone's abilities improve greatly. On the 40th day, Gotoubun decides to hold a series of duels to determine the ranks of the hobgoblins. During those matches, the idea of creating a mercenary group comes to his mind. On the 41st day, Gotoubun heads into the mountains alone, in search of prey. He begins by hunting a golden spider. After devouring it, he gains the golden spider thread skill and several other useful abilities. He then finds a red deer, but he gains no skill after eating it. From this, he concludes that he needs to devour several creatures of the same species before he can obtain their abilities. While wandering through the forest, he reaches an area inhabited by creatures known as forest nymphs. However, he leaves without fighting them. After that, he heads to a waterfall to bathe. While there, he is attacked by lizardmen. After defeating them, he gains many new abilities and continues his day without allowing any monster to stand in his way. On the 42nd day, everyone discovers that 2 goblins have talent for magic. Gotoubun immediately sends them to Hobusei's team, which had no members during that entire period. During that time, a new ability called Bear Enchantment appears. This ability allows magical properties to be added to any object. On the 43rd day, Gotoubun notices that Gobumi is angry with him for no clear reason. He asks everyone whether they know what happened, but no one has an answer. Eventually, he visits the alchemist, who tells him that Gobumi and the red-haired girl, Rubelia Walline, are jealous because of him. On the 44th day, Gotoubun activates his search skill and senses a group of people approaching. When he goes outside, he finds a group of noble elves standing before him. From their conversation, he learns that humans are planning to attack the elves to steal their treasure. Because of that, the elves have come to ask the goblins for help in exchange for a generous reward. Their offer is enough food to feed the entire village for 2 months. Gobuji believes the offer is tempting, but Gotoubun suddenly refuses it because the elves are speaking to them in an arrogant manner. The leader of the elves becomes furious and attempts to attack Gotoubun. However, Gotoubun releases a powerful aura that fills their hearts with fear. He then grabs their leader by the neck and tells him that if he truly wants their help, he must first order the archers to lower their bows. Suddenly, an arrow flies directly toward Gotoubun's head, but he easily catches it between his teeth. The elven leader becomes terrified and orders all his men to lower their weapons. Gotoubun then uses his spear and creates many copies of it, driving them into the ground. The spears restrict the movement of every elf and leave them completely unable to move. In the end, the elves retreat and leave after Gotoubun rejects their offer. On the 45th day, Gotoubun hunts 20 slime-like creatures and gains the clone skill from them. He slightly cuts his hand and activates the skill, only to discover that he can see through the clone's eyes and feel everything it feels, almost as if he has become the clone itself. On the 46th day, Gotoubun comes up with a new idea. He asks Gobumi to make clothes for everyone using a small amount of his blood, allowing them to work as communication devices during emergencies. On the 47th day, another group of elves arrives to meet Gotoubun. The moment they begin speaking, they use the same arrogant tone as the previous group. Because of that, Gotoubun teaches them another lesson. However, their leader continues speaking disrespectfully, even while the other elves try to calm him down. In the end, they apologize to Gotoubun for their leader's behavior. After that, Gotoubun tells them to consider their leader dead. He then declares that the remaining elves must fight members of his group to defend their lives, and only those who win will be allowed to survive. Once the duels end, only 6 out of the 23 elves manage to win, and all 6 of them are men. It is later revealed that Gotoubun manipulated the results so the female elves would not be killed. Afterward, Gotoubun gains a large number of new abilities from the elves. He then tells the remaining elves that they are now prisoners. They become slightly angry because they believed they would be given their freedom. However, Gotoubun reminds them that they were the ones who tried to kill the people of his village, so he has no intention of letting them leave so easily. On the 48th day, Gotobukichi reaches level 100. On the 49th day, the villagers see his new appearance. While Gotoubun feels happy that Gotobukichi has become much stronger, it is revealed that his evolution type is a special mutant. Gotobukichi immediately asks Gotoubun to fight him again. Their duel begins, and their strength appears to be almost equal. However, Gotoubun wins in the end as usual. The reason is that Gotoubun possesses superior combat skills, while Gotobukichi relies more heavily on physical strength. That night, Gotoubun has a strange dream in which an unknown person gives him something. Afterward, a message appears in the system, but he cannot understand what it means. He ignores it and continues living normally. On the 51st day, 4 more villagers evolve into hobgoblins. One of them has the talent to become a mage, while another has the potential to become a priest. On the same day, Hobase evolves as well and heads into the forest to test her new strength. Gotoubun is shocked when he sees just how powerful she has become. Hobase tells him that she can cast more than 20 additional spells with the same level of power. Gotoubun laughs and tells her that what she has already done is enough because she might destroy the entire forest if she continues. Evolution has now become common throughout the village, and it seems that Gotoubun and the training system he created are the main reasons behind it. On the 52nd day, Gotoubun and Gotobukichi return to the village carrying the food they hunted. There, they notice a group of goblins preparing to leave and ask where they are going. It is revealed that this group belongs to the older generation. They were unable to evolve, while the younger generation evolved rapidly. Because of that, they have decided to leave the village. They tell Gotoubun that he can kill them if he wants, but they refuse to continue living in the same way. Gotoubun accepts their decision and says goodbye. Before they leave, he gives them a knife made from magic metal as a farewell gift and places a small amount of his blood on it. On the 53rd day, Gotoubun is inside the forest when he sees an orc that has hunted a human. After killing the orc, he obtains a strange ability from the human. When used correctly, it can serve as a way of showing respect. The ability is called Monster Tamare. On the 54th day, Gotoubun informs the villagers that the older goblins have left. He then announces that anyone else who wishes to leave is free to do so. He will not stop them and will even give them a farewell gift. On the 55th day, Gotoubun makes earrings containing a small amount of his blood so they can function as communication devices. On the 56th day, he successfully communicates with Gobumi through the earrings. On the 57th day, the group heads out to hunt. After Gobu catches a horse, Gotoubun approaches it and activates the Monster Tamer skill, successfully taming it. After that, he begins taming different kinds of monsters, including a gray bear and the leader of a wolf pack. On the 59th day, Gotoubun witnesses the true strength of Rubelia Walline, the red-haired girl, and sees how she becomes stronger whenever she is close to defeat. Before she begins eating, a strange light shines from her eyes. She tells Gotoubun that she has obtained a new job, which works in a way similar to goblin evolution. The job is called Black Soldier. It will make her much stronger and faster, but she will have to eat monsters from time to time, or she will die. After they return to the village, Gobuji, the priest, informs Gotoubun that a human attacked a goblin. Gotoubun immediately realizes that the war between the humans and the elves is about to begin. On the 60th day, Gotoubun wakes up after his search skill evolves. He notices a group of kobolds running away from strange creatures that he cannot clearly identify because of the darkness. Gotoubun gathers a group of fighters and quickly heads toward the kobolds. When they arrive, they discover magical skeletons. Gobumi tries to attack them, but her strikes have no effect. Gotoubun then senses a powerful presence behind the skeletons and concludes that it belongs to their leader. The battle begins, and everyone discovers that the skeletons can only be defeated by completely destroying their bodies. Gotoubun orders his companions to move away and tells them that he will eliminate every skeleton within 10 seconds. However, he destroys all of them in only 7 seconds. After devouring their leader, he gains several new skills, including undead summoning. The kobolds thank Gotoubun for helping them and then tell him their story. They had been digging underground when they accidentally reached Velvet's treasure, awakening a greater skeleton. While trying to escape from it, they continued running until they reached the Black Ogre's cave. On the 61st day, Gotoubun goes hunting with Gobukichi, and the two notice 12 armed human soldiers. They follow them from a distance and see them hiding beside a road. After listening to their conversation, Gotoubun discovers that they have come to kidnap the daughter of an elven tribe leader. He also learns that someone among the elves gave them the information. 2 hours after sunset, the princess finally passes by with her convoy, and the human soldiers suddenly begin their attack. Before they can kidnap her, Gotoubun steps in because he feels guilty at the thought of standing by and allowing them to carry out their plan. On the 62nd day, one of the 12 human soldiers captured by Gotoubun speaks and reveals what happened. From his explanation, Gotoubun learns that the human army will begin moving in 20 days. After obtaining the information, he also takes all of their abilities. After that, the princess wakes up in fear and asks where she is. Gotoubun stands there in surprise when he notices that she has wings, unlike the other elves. He then explains what happened. The princess becomes angry and asks why he waited until her guards were killed before interfering. Gotoubun replies that the conflict between the humans and the elves has nothing to do with him, and that it was their own problem. He then informs her that there is a traitor among the elves, causing her to break down in tears. Gotoubun asks her to rest for now, and tells her that he will return her home the following day. On the 63rd day, they leave the village. While traveling, Gotoubun asks the princess about her wings. She explains that those wings only appear on high-ranking elves, and are considered a form of advancement beyond ordinary elves. 3 hours later, they reach the elven village, where 25 archers are waiting at the entrance with their weapons aimed at them. However, the princess tells them that Gotoubun and his companions are the ones who saved her, causing the archers to lower their weapons. After that, Gotoubun and Gobukichi are allowed to enter the village. There they meet the princess's father, who thanks them for rescuing his daughter. After Gotoubun learns that the man is the village chief, he gets straight to the point and tells him that he did not save his daughter out of kindness. He then asks for a reward. Goburun's true goal is to discover how much the chief loves his daughter. Sure enough, the chief gives him a legendary bow that has been passed down through his family for many generations. After that, Gotoubun apologizes for testing him in such a way, and gives him all the information he collected about the war. At the end of their meeting, the two exchange gifts. The chief then asks Gotoubun about the group that disappeared around 20 days ago, which is the same group that previously attacked Goburun's village. However, Gotoubun tells him that he has not heard anything about them before finally returning to his village. On the 64th day, Gobumi evolves during the night into a Dhampir mutant. 8 other villagers also evolve into hobgoblins on the same day. Gobumi's evolution grants her the Evil Eye skill, which allows her to charm her enemies. However, sunlight has now become her weakness. Gobu evolves into a half-earth lord, gaining the ability to detect weak points inside rocks and strengthen her body. She also gains light magic that allows her to locate jewels. Hobisato evolves into a half-blood lord, gaining the ability to bathe in blood and transform it into weapons. Strangely, all of them now have tattoos similar to Goburun's. After that, the rankings of the different races are revealed. Gotoubun then distributes new earrings to the kobolds so he can communicate with them once the war begins. However, the elves refuse to wear them because decorating or damaging their ears is considered forbidden among their people. The rest of the day continues with Goburun's training, and both the kobolds and the elves take part. He also arranges a practice battle against skeletons summoned through the ability he gained from the skeleton leader. The skeletons become stronger whenever they are equipped with better armor. On the 65th day, Gotoubun discovers a new feature of his summoning skill. By using less mana, he can summon ordinary skeletons, zombies, and other kinds of undead creatures. He decides to use them during training, but their only problem is that they burn under sunlight. During this period, Gotoubun focuses mainly on training the elves and kobolds. On the 66th day, he heads toward the caves where the kobolds usually live, and asks Gobu to create something that will prevent the skeletons from appearing again. After that, he makes the kobolds practice hunting in groups. His goal is to increase the number of monsters accompanying them. They successfully capture 20 wolves, which is far more than Gotoubun expected. However, none of them is a pack leader. That evening, Gotoubun receives an upgraded version of the axe he used to kill the red bear. It is revealed that the blacksmith modified it and made it stronger by using gemstones and magic. On the 67th day, Gobukichi tells Gotoubun that he is in love with Gobue. Gotoubun replies that he has known for a long time because Gobukichi's feelings were extremely obvious. That evening, Gobukichi approaches Gobue and confesses his love to her. She accepts his feelings. The following day, Gotoubun and Gobukichi train together. Surprisingly, Gobukichi manages to win the duel. It is then revealed that Gobue spoke with Gobumi about the same matter the previous day, and the two of them managed to bring Gobukichi and Gobue together. After that, the group continues the day by heading out to hunt. Gotoubun gains a large number of new skills, including the exoskeleton skill. When he tests it, his entire body becomes covered in a layer resembling armor. After understanding how the skill works, he creates a new structure that allows him to fly. On the 69th day, the red-haired Rubelia Waline asks Gotoubun to train with her. Afterward, he visits the elves and speaks with them. From their conversation, he learns about a metal called mithril, which must first be heated and have its condition changed before it can be shaped. He then visits the blacksmith and asks her to create a new weapon for him. That evening, he helps the twin sisters with cooking and has them try preparing new dishes from his previous world. After that, he visits the alchemist so they can create magic items together. The alchemist successfully creates her first magic item. It is a skeleton finger with the ability to freeze anything it touches. On the 70th day, a group of elves arrives as messengers from the elven chief. They pass by the elves being held inside the village, but Gotoubun uses the disguise effect of the earrings to make the prisoners appear to be dark elves. After that, the leader of the messengers tells him that the human army has advanced toward the Kudal Forest, an area relatively close to the elven territory. He also explains that the army is enormous, meaning the elves will not be able to stop it alone. He then asks Gotoubun for help. Gotoubun agrees and gives him an item containing some of his blood so he can communicate with the elven chief. After that, Gotoubun announces that he will establish a mercenary group and names it Parabellum. On the 71st day, Gotoubun moves out with the group he created. It consists of 36 members, but with Hobise's spell and the monsters accompanying them, their numbers can reach 73 fighters. During their journey, they encounter a barrier that prevents low-level monsters from passing through. Everyone works together and successfully destroys the barrier. Gobumi and Hobise begin using their magic, while Gotoubun summons an army of skeletons. However, even all of that is not enough to wipe out the entire army. During the battle, a female knight who appears to be the army's commander steps forward. She tells her soldiers that the ogre is controlling the skeletons and orders them to focus their attacks on him. The army fights with great organization and strength, and the soldiers manage to reach Gotoubun. However, Gotoubun easily blocks the knight's attack and tells her that he is impressed by what she has done. Because of that, he will allow them to live. The knight responds by saying that his life is now in her hands. After that, Gotoubun orders his group not to kill the knight, the sorceress, the priestess, or the swordswoman who uses a flaming sword. As for the remaining soldiers, they are free to do whatever they want. Because of this order, the battle quickly turns into a one-sided fight. The knight continues attacking Gotoubun, but he remains standing in the same place without even trying to block her strikes, almost as if he is mocking her. Meanwhile, the mage positioned in the rear begins preparing a powerful spell. Hobuse tells Gotoubun that the spell is called the Ice Flame Dragon, and that even an ogre would be unable to survive a direct hit from it. Gotoubun then tells the knight that the battle has already been decided, and that he will not allow her to die. He then pushes her away. After that, he faces the dragon using disappearance magic and several layers of armor, allowing him to survive the spell. With that, Gotoubun and his companions win the battle and successfully keep the strongest warriors of the human army alive. After the fight ends, Gotoubun gains a large number of new skills. Later, Gotoubun and the elven chief hold a feast together. On the 72nd day, Gotoubun begins questioning the knight and the woman with the flaming sword. Neither of them can lie to him because they are wearing the earrings he created using his blood. After gathering the information, he informs the elven chief that he has discovered the route the main human army will take, and that they will prepare an ambush. Gotoubun explains that the humans were planning to surround the elven forest from every direction by taking advantage of their superior numbers. On the 73rd day, the group heads toward the main army. After preparing the traps, they hide inside a trench. The main army then appears. It consists of around 500 soldiers, including 100 mages. If the elves had been forced to face them alone, they would have lost the battle easily. However, Gotoubun's group is fully prepared with traps. The road in front of the soldiers is blocked, and enormous rocks begin falling on them. Because of those traps, the army's numbers drop from 500 to 300. They continue moving through another series of traps, causing several soldiers to fall into pits. The human commander then orders his soldiers to form a circle and surround themselves with rocks because Gobumi is firing arrows at them from every direction. Once the soldiers are completely trapped, Goboru tells Gobukichi to go down, fight the army commander, and capture him. Their battle begins. Although Gobukichi has greater physical strength, the knight fights with impressive skill and manages to keep up with him. However, Gobukichi eventually succeeds in capturing him, bringing the battle to an end. As usual, Goboru gains a large number of new skills after the fight. On the 74th day, the prisoners are furious about being captured by Goboru. Some of them would rather die than remain in such a humiliating situation. However, the red-haired knight tells them that the goblins are giving them food and a place to sleep, and their situation could have been far worse. The nobles angrily tell him to remain silent because he is only a commoner and could never understand how they feel as nobles. After that, Goboru takes the knight aside and asks him why the humans attacked the elves and what the true reason behind the conflict is. From his explanation, Goboru learns that the first princess of a human kingdom called Sternbert was infected with a rare illness. The disease is fatal in 99% of cases. The princess is also engaged to the future emperor of the neighboring kingdom of Kirika. Because of that, the king ordered everyone to search for a cure. During their search, they learned about a secret medicine belonging to the elves. In simple terms, human greed is what ignited the war. During that time, hot water begins flowing inside the cave. Goboru tells everyone that they will transform the area into a hot spring because it will be useful for treatment and recovery. On the 75th day, Goboru continues the training sessions, but this time he includes the human prisoners. His goal is to allow the rest of the villagers to benefit from their leadership experience and make the training feel like a simulation of fighting real soldiers. Gobue and Hobusei begin giving orders to their forces. The winner is the one whose unit successfully defeats the enemy soldiers, while Goboru acts as the judge. However, Gobukichi and Hobusato are unable to win even once. Meanwhile, the nobles are shocked to see goblins practicing military maneuvers and begin wondering what they are planning. After the red-haired knight finishes fighting against the skeletons, he approaches Goboru and asks for a duel. Goboru agrees, but first casts a protection spell on the knight before beginning the match. Goboru defeats him easily, but he is impressed by the knight's courage. Gobukichi then becomes excited and asks the knight to fight him as well. At the end of the day, the knight tells Goboru that the region where he used to live was filled with demi-humans. Because of that, speaking with goblins and monsters feels better to him than dealing with those nobles. He then says that what Goboru has created in this place is truly incredible. He has managed to gather demi-humans, beastmen, and ordinary humans together in one place. After that, the knight tells Goboru that he is tired of working for the kingdom and asks for permission to serve under him instead. Goboru accepts his request and assigns him to train Rubelia Walline. On the 77th day, Goboru visits the elven chief and hands the nobles over to him. He explains that they are completely useless to him and do nothing except eat food inside the village. At the end of the meeting, Goboru asks the chief about the medicine the humans were searching for. The chief tells him that he already gave him that medicine before. Goboru is surprised because he did not know that he had already received it. He also knows nothing about it, so he asks the chief to explain its properties. The chief tells him that the medicine can cure any disease. Goboru then asks why he gave him something so rare and valuable. The chief explains that elven laws forbid them from giving it to humans, but nothing prevents him from sharing it with the ogre who saved his daughter. Goboru drinks the medicine and gains a large number of new skills, including rapid regeneration and antidote blood. The antidote blood skill allows Goboru's blood to cure any disease or injury. To confirm its effect, he tests his blood on one of the nobles, and the ability successfully heals him. On the 81st day, after Goboru and his companions prepare for their third battle, the human soldiers' camp comes into view. Suddenly, Goboru's spear flies through the air and kills one of the soldiers from 300 meters away. After that, Goboru activates the Zanish skill, producing an enormous number of spears. As a result, the battle ends in less than 20 minutes. On the 82nd day, Goboru visits the elven chief while accompanied by several humans. The elves give them strange looks, but they enter the chief's headquarters, and the discussion begins. The chief asks Gotoubun to allow elven fighters to take part in the next battle. After that, the two continue discussing their strategy. While returning to the village, the female knight from the kingdom speaks with Gotoubun. She tells him that her loyalty now belongs to him, but she asks him to give the elven medicine to the princess. Gotoubun thinks about it and realizes that making the kingdom owe him a favor could be useful. It might even provide him with support during an emergency. However, there is one major problem. 5 great gods exist in this world. Their blessings are extremely powerful, and they are often responsible for causing many religious conflicts. Gotoubun possesses the blessing of the god of demise and origin, so providing the medicine could create serious problems in the future. Gotoubun remains silent for a moment before telling the knight that he will think about it and may agree to her request. On the 83rd day, the attack begins before sunrise. The human army consists of 2,000 soldiers, while Gotoubun commands 650 fighters, including 500 elves who joined his forces. Because of that difference in numbers, they will most likely lose if they attack without a proper plan. During that time, one of Gotoubun's clones returns with information. Through it, he learns that the human army has brought Rogold Orden with them. The knights accompanying Gotoubun explain that Rogold Orden is an organization made up of heroic warriors and is considered an overwhelming military force. Its members can also strengthen the fighters serving alongside them. Gotoubun becomes excited when he hears this and begins thinking about devouring them to obtain their abilities. After that, he summons the skeletons he previously modified. It seems that he has made them resistant to sunlight. He then gives orders to the rest of the group and tells them that he will head toward the center of the army with all the skeletons. The battle begins, and every soldier becomes occupied with fighting the skeletons. Suddenly, the sun rises. The soldiers expect the skeletons to disappear, but nothing happens. Gotoubun used his clones and transformed them into slime-like creatures. He then made them cover the skeletons like an insulating layer, protecting them from sunlight. Gotoubun advances through the army, killing soldiers with a strange technique before stopping to devour some of them. During that time, a member of Rogold Orden attacks him. His name is Filippo. Filippo begins speaking endlessly in an irritating and arrogant way. Suddenly, one of his eyes transforms into the eye of an insect. Gotoubun realizes that the eye represents a blessing from the god of demonic insects. Filippo asks Gotoubun which blessing he possesses, but Gotoubun refuses to answer. Filippo continues mocking him and speaking in an irritating way. He then takes out a strange object and throws it onto the corpses, causing them to begin moving. After that, he asks Gotoubun about the difference between braves and heroes. Gotoubun answers that braves can lead their groups and increase the strength of their companions. A hero, however, is stronger than a brave as an individual, but cannot command a team or increase its power. Suddenly, the human corpses transform into enormous insects. Filippo believes he has won and starts laughing, but Gotoubun stands up and destroys his insects. However, the insects regenerate. Filippo begins controlling them directly, making them much stronger and allowing them to injure Gotoubun. Filippo does not stop there. He moves his hands in a strange way, causing a gigantic insect to emerge from beneath the ground. It grabs Gotoubun and begins crushing him. At the same time, poison enters Gotoubun's body and paralyzes him. Believing Gotoubun has been defeated, Filippo moves away with the giant insect and begins thinking about his next move. However, Gotoubun suddenly disappears from his sight before appearing behind him and attempting to strike him. Filippo manages to dodge and wonders how Gotoubun survived the poison. After that, Filippo introduces himself and tells Gotoubun that he ranks 7th in the country. He then tries to continue speaking and explain what rank Gotoubun deserves, but he cannot finish his sentence because Gotoubun fires a bolt of electricity at him. Gotoubun continues his attack and nearly strikes Filippo's head, but something strange emerges from Filippo's clothes and protects him. That is Filippo's second secret weapon. Afterward, Filippo transforms into an insect-like form and becomes much faster and stronger. He charges toward Gotoubun, but Gotoubun blocks his strike before landing a powerful blow on his head and following it with another electric attack. However, Filippo dodges it. Shocked by Gotoubun's strength, he asks how he became so powerful despite not undergoing an epic awakening yet. Gotoubun asks what that means, but Filippo refuses to explain. Gotoubun then uses his armor to form 2 wings. He flies behind Filippo and succeeds in knocking him to the ground. Elsewhere, Gotoubun becomes worried about Gotoubun and begins searching for him. Returning to Filippo, he tells Gotoubun that the battle was entertaining, but he now has to leave. He then exits his insect form in a ridiculous way. Gotoubun tries to chase him, but the insect blocks his path, allowing Filippo to escape. After that, Gotoubun arrives and checks whether Gotoubun is alright. At the same time, Gotoubun checks what happened to the clone he sent deep into the forest after giving it several stealth abilities. Suddenly, the clone appears behind the army commander and whispers that he is the future king of the country and the commander of the armed royal army. It then tells him that they do not want this war to continue. The commander asks who he is, but Gotoubun first tells him to examine his clothes. After that, Gotoubun takes out the princess's medicine, leaves it with him, and departs. The commander becomes terrified and orders his soldiers to send a messenger and inform everyone that they have already obtained the medicine. Gotoubun later explains that this was the correct decision because he could not kill that prince. If he had done so, the kingdom would have launched an all-out war against the elves. Gotoubun then encounters a group of remaining soldiers. They become frightened when they see him, but he tells them that the battle is over and that they may return home. Some of Gotoubun's soldiers died during the battle, so he holds a simple funeral for them and burns their bodies. Otherwise, they might awaken again as zombies if their corpses are left untouched. On the 84th day, the injured begin receiving treatment from the priest traveling with them, who has evolved into a half-saint lord. He has also gained a shield-like skill capable of enduring more than 20 attacks from Gotoubun. At the same time, another girl named Hobumi evolves into a certain race that allows her to create eyes on different parts of her body. However, she has not yet become used to this new power. 7 hobgoblins also evolve into ogres. They approach Gotoubun and tell him that they will continue training until they become stronger for the sake of their fallen companions. Gotoubun is surprised by their behavior because goblins are usually known for their selfish nature. The kobold leader also evolves and receives a new name, Akikaze no Tsuji. True names are special names given only to individuals who reach a certain level. This is because if an enemy learns someone's true name, they may be able to use certain spells against them, including curses. Since the name is too long, Gotoubun decides to shorten it and calls him Akitenu. After that, Gotoubun struggles to decide what to do with the prisoners captured during the war. He tells them that anyone who wishes to leave may go, while those who have nowhere else to go and wish to remain can stay in the village. However, a red-haired man becomes angry and says that they are stronger than the weak people working under Gotoubun. He then asks why they are being treated like temporary members. His words are actually true because the 3 of them are stronger than the hobgoblins. However, Gotoubun trusts the people of his village more than complete strangers. Because of that, he tells them that anyone with a problem is free to leave. The red-haired man then declares that he will fight the commander of Gotoubun's mercenaries. If he wins, they will take command instead. Gotoubun steps forward to face him because he is the commander of the mercenary group. However, they begin mocking him and say that their leader is only an ogre. They had believed that the Dhampir, Gotoubun, was the true commander. Gotoubun becomes furious, but Gotoubun tells her to calm down. The fight begins, and his opponents use orb weapons because they belong to the Lord class. Even so, Gotoubun defeats all of them with a single strike. He continues fighting the remaining prisoners until a massive man resembling a gorilla appears. The man manages to strike Gotoubun and believes that he has won. However, Gotoubun stands back up and defeats him. Only a half-Dhampir remains after that. Gotoubun searches for him but finds him sitting beside Gotoubun and flirting with her. Gotoubun becomes furious, walks over, and punches him. Afterward, several members of rare races remain, but they do not attempt to kill him. Instead, they thank him for rescuing them from captivity and healing their injuries. Gotoubun is pleased to finally meet some reasonable people and decides to give them special treatment. However, before he can finish speaking, the half-Dhampir returns and begins flirting with Gotoubun this time. He tells Gotoubun that he smells wonderful and that his blood is the most delicious blood he has ever tasted. Gotoubun immediately continues beating him. This stage ends with 50 temporary members joining the group, while Gobukichi becomes responsible for training them. Gotoubun later visits the blacksmith and finds several dwarven craftsmen helping her. He spends the rest of the day handling different tasks until he is completely exhausted. On the 85th day, everyone improves the hot springs so Gotoubun can present them to the elves as a gift. The next day, he trains with the temporary members and practices a new ability called chemical synthesis. On the 87th day, the dwarves present Gotoubun with a war hammer, describing it as one of their finest creations. That afternoon, he enters the forest alone, but must conceal his presence to prevent the creatures from sensing him and escaping. On the 88th day, the villagers begin farming to become self-sufficient. They plant magical fruit and vegetable seeds that grow faster, taste better, and provide greater health benefits than ordinary crops. The following day, some temporary members return home. The captured nobles are also released, but Gotoubun uses her evil eyes to control them, giving the group several spies inside the kingdom. Gotoubun then informs the elven chief that the human army has withdrawn. The chief invites him and his companions to a feast in Luto Elf, where the elves sing and dance. Although elven law normally forbids close relationships with outsiders, Gotoubun is considered the chief's friend and ally. The chief became strict about this rule after his younger brother violated the forest's laws, formed relationships with outsiders, and left. Since then, he has continued waiting for his brother's return. On the 90th day, Gotoubun discovers several spirit stones. Gotoubun devours them and gains new skills before spending the day combining skeletons and slime creatures to create strange objects. The others mistake one creation for a companion monster, but Gotoubun explains that it is a vehicle. He then tells the humans that he will return them home. They assume he is forcing them to leave, but Gotoubun explains that he intends to keep his promise even if they ask to stay. On the 91st day, the hot springs are completed, with separate areas for men and women. Rubelia Wallin later trains with the red-haired knight and sadly asks whether he intends to return to his village. He replies that he has not decided and that Gotoubun does not seem eager to send them away. The next day, Gotoubun and the girls gather fruit, while the 93rd day is spent celebrating the arrival of the new members. On the 94th day, everyone is divided into 5 groups. The first includes Gotoubun, Gobumi, 5 humans, and the 3 lords. The second includes Gobukichi, Gobue, the priest, 3 humans, and 4 kobolds. The third includes Hobusato, Hobusei, 3 elves, 1 human, 3 hobgoblins, and a priest. The final 2 groups are formed similarly. Each group has 4 objectives: gather information about the outside world, solve its own problems, help every member evolve, and most importantly, ensure that no one dies. On the 95th day, everyone says goodbye and travels toward different destinations. Gotoubun's group heads toward the protected city of Triant, where the girls had originally planned to go. 6 days later, on the 102nd day, they arrive in Triant, where around a quarter of the population consists of demi-humans. The guards initially mistake their arrival for an attack, but the girls quickly explain the situation. At the inn, Gotoubun tells the girls to decide whether they want to remain in the city or return with him to the village. He then visits the guild while the others sell their collected materials. Several people attack him upon arrival, but he defeats them easily. When Gotoubun explains that they are mercenaries, an old man tells him that he must first register as an adventurer. After completing the procedures, Gotoubun officially receives his adventurer status. Later, he reunites with the group and continues shopping before disguising himself as Tomokui Kanata, his human appearance from his previous life, to gather information. While exploring the city, he hears people discussing a tattoo-covered ogre and realizes they are talking about him. In a side street, several thieves attempt to rob him. Gotoubun defeats and devours them, gaining new skills while noticing that they all wear identical rings. Soon afterward, he overhears a yellow-haired young man arguing with criminals who refuse to release a kidnapped girl despite receiving the ransom. They demand 3 times the original payment, and Gotoubun notices that they wear the same rings. The young man angrily demands the princess's release and draws his sword, but the criminals overpower him and attempt to kill him. Gotoubun intervenes and saves him. He also attaches one of his clones to a fleeing thief so he can track them. The young man becomes angry because Gotoubun allowed them to escape. Gotoubun punches him for failing to show gratitude and explains that he had a reason. He then gives him a communication card before briefly revealing his ogre form, transforming back into Tomokui Kanata, and leaving. Later, the young man explains that the princess was moving through the city in disguise when she was kidnapped. Gotoubun assures him that he already knows the kidnapper's location. Using the clone, they find the princess and documents proving the kidnapping had been planned in advance. Gotoubun eliminates the kidnappers and burns their hideout. He then asks the young man to hide the truth and claim that the princess staged the kidnapping as a game. However, the young man refuses and insists on informing the king to prevent it from happening again. Genki, the third lord, hypnotizes him and erases his memory of the incident. On the 103rd day, news arrives that a new generation has been born. Since Gotoubun is preparing to leave, the girls finally reveal their decision. All of them have packed their belongings and chosen to return with him to the village. Before he departs, the rescued princess waits beneath the inn. She recognizes him as the ogre who saved her and introduces herself as Rubilia, the first princess of the kingdom of Sternbert. Since Gotoubun leads a mercenary group, she hires him to escort her to the royal capital of Osafiel. Gotoubun is surprised by her lack of fear, but refuses, telling her to rely on her personal guards. Rubilia dismisses them as weak and useless. Annoyed, Gotoubun reminds her that his group has its own responsibilities and scolds her for wandering among ordinary citizens without protection. Rubilia only laughs and says that no one has ever spoken to her that way. The yellow-haired young man then reveals that the reward is a golden plate worth 1 million gold coins. The girls immediately pressure Gotoubun to accept. Since he also wants to visit the capital, he reluctantly agrees and delays the return home, though he considers it a terrible decision. Before leaving, Gotoubun asks what happened to Rubilia's guards. She admits that she escaped without telling them, meaning Gotoubun now appears to be her kidnapper rather than her escort. Since he has already accepted, he can no longer withdraw. During the journey, they hunt buffalo and prepare steaks. Gotoubun also tames a wild boar to pull the carriage instead of using his skeleton creation. Rubilia proves difficult to control because she repeatedly puts herself in danger. On the 104th day, they hunt a strange snake with a turtle-like shell. Rubilia's behavior improves afterward, and everyone eats together. Gotoubun later trains with the yellow-haired young man, while the princess joins them. That evening, they discuss their route. One path crosses a region inhabited by the strongest eagles in the mountains, whose jade eagle leader possesses a special blessing. The moment Gotoubun hears about such a powerful opponent, he immediately chooses that route. On the 105th day, everyone objects, but they have already arrived. Gotoubun begins hunting the eagles and remarks that their meat tastes incredibly delicious. After that, they encounter the leader of the eagles, and it is terrifyingly enormous. The battle between Gotoubun and the eagle begins immediately. An entire hour passes, causing everyone to grow worried about him. However, Gotoubun reminds them that he once fought the red bear for an entire night. After some time, the sounds outside suddenly stop, so everyone leaves the carriage to see what happened. There, they discover that one of Gotoubun's arms and one of his legs have been severed. Despite that, the battle is still continuing. Gotoubun grabs his severed arm and leg and devours them. Suddenly, both limbs return to their original places. He then tells the eagle that the training session is over and that it is time for the real battle to begin. With a single strike, Gotoubun successfully kills the leader of the eagles. After that, he lands beside its corpse and discovers a spirit stone near the eagle's heart. The stone can be used to create extremely powerful magic items. It can also be sold for enough money to purchase an entire country. After devouring the eagle, Gotoubun gains a new collection of skills. The princess then asks why he eats the creatures he defeats. Strangely, Gotoubun was asked the same question in his previous life, so he gives her the same answer. He eats them because he was the one who killed them. Since he caused their deaths, devouring them allows him to carry their hatred, regret, and resentment with him. On the 109th day, the group arrives at Mason Village. At first, the villagers attack them. However, the princess uses a spell that forces everyone to remain silent, allowing the group to pass through safely. During that time, they discover a magnificent waterfall and are amazed by its beauty. Once the villagers welcome them because the princess is present, they take the group to the governor's mansion, where they will be staying. They then spend the rest of the day near the waterfall. At the end of the day, they hold a celebration for everyone in the village. Everyone dances and enjoys themselves. On the 110th day, they leave Mason early in the morning and head toward the mountains as planned. Gotoubun enters the carriage and notices that the twin sisters look exhausted. They tell him that they became tired the previous day because they cooked food for the entire village. Because of that, Gotoubun tells them that he will handle the cooking for the day and asks them to rest. On the 111th day, everyone discovers that the twin sisters are pregnant with Gotoubun's children. Gotoubun contacts Gobuji and explains what happened before asking whether they should quickly return to the village. However, Gobuji tells him that they will never reach it in time. He also explains that ogre children absorb nutrition from their mothers and grow extremely quickly. Human bodies cannot endure that process, and the mothers may even begin devouring their own bodies because of their overwhelming hunger. Gotoubun quickly begins searching for a suitable place where they can give birth. During that time, the alchemist notices that the twins' hands have become extremely small. Gotoubun tells everyone that they need food with an enormous amount of nutrition and energy. Gotoubun immediately cuts off his own hand and tells the sisters to devour it. They initially refuse, but he forces them to eat it in order to save their lives. After some time, they discover a cave suitable for childbirth. However, several bears are living inside, so the group quickly eliminates them. Gotoubun then creates 2 beds using his clones. The twins' stomachs grow larger one final time until they look as though they are about to explode. Gotoubun gives them painkillers, takes out a scalpel, and begins performing cesarean sections on both of them. The older sister gives birth to a girl, while the younger sister gives birth to a boy. Once the operations are over, Gotoubun is shown standing alone with his hands trembling. He then feels overwhelming happiness because everything ended safely. After that, Gobuji tells Gotoubun that his 2 children are half ogres and that this world usually hates anyone who is different, especially because each child possesses only 1 horn. Gotoubun then explains that the chance of a mixed-blood child being born is only 1 in a million. In most cases, the child completely inherits the father's race. Gotoubun tells Gobuji that he respects him and has learned a great deal from him. However, he refuses to abandon the 2 children as Gobuji appears to be suggesting. Gotoubun then notices that each child was born with 2 orbs, which is a sign that they possess the Lord rank. He believes this happened because of the orbs and other round objects he devoured from the dragon he previously hunted. Gotoubun names the girl Oro and the boy Argento. The younger sister who wears red is named Alma, while the older sister is named Felicia. On the 112th day, Gotoubun heads out alone in search of powerful prey. During his search, he encounters the most beautiful monster he has ever seen. It looks like a living work of art. The moment he sees it, he realizes that his chances of defeating it are only around 30%. Gotoubun prepares for battle, but the deer does not attack him. Suddenly, it leaps away at incredible speed and escapes, leaving only its antlers behind. Gotoubun places the antlers inside his storage and decides to share them with his children. On his way back, he devours several white slime creatures until he is full. He then sees a group of humans and beastmen fighting a herd of monstrous bulls. Gotoubun realizes that they are the strongest and most organized group he has encountered in this world so far. However, the leader of the bulls, whose species is known as Fomorian, activates an extremely powerful skill. At that moment, Gotoubun believes that the group has lost the battle. Before the Fomorian leader can deliver the finishing blow, Gotoubun attacks from a distance and kills it. The group's leader prepares to confront Gotoubun, but Gotoubun approaches him and says that their battle was impressive. Gotoubun then invents a story and tells them that he works for someone, and the group's leader believes him. Gotoubun also tells them that he will treat their injuries. The leader thanks him while Gotoubun remains surprised that the man actually believed his story. After Gotoubun leaves, the leader tells his companions that when he stood before him, he did not hear any special sound. That means Gotoubun has not yet reached the epic stage. Even so, the leader was unable to move toward him. He possesses an ability similar to prediction, and it warned him that they would all die if he attacked Gotoubun. At sunset, Gotoubun returns to the cave. He then devours parts of the monster he killed and gains a large number of skills. When he enters the cave, he is shocked to discover that his children can already move and speak. They begin calling him father. Gotoubun falls to his knees and happily shouts that his children are geniuses. After that, he feeds them the deer's antlers. Suddenly, a strange light surrounds both children, and it appears that they have evolved significantly. Gotoubun and the red-haired girl also eat part of the antlers. Light surrounds them as well, and they gain an enormous number of skills, so many that Gotoubun cannot even identify all of them. A new truth is then revealed. That deer was not a creature Gotoubun could defeat at his current level. If he had actually fought it, he would have died. Gotoubun becomes deeply frustrated by this and is unable to sleep. Eventually, he forces himself to fall asleep. While he is sleeping, several system messages appear and inform him that he is about to evolve once again. He is also granted a true name, Yatunduji, along with one unique skill and several other abilities. However, the system fails to complete the evolution, and a message appears revealing that an error has occurred. The error states that 2 abilities will remain locked because Gotoubun has not yet reached the required level to unlock them. Finally, another message appears, announcing that the chosen followers of the 8 demon generals will undergo evolutionary advancement. On the 114th day, the group crosses the mountains. Suddenly, the alchemist Spinel and the blacksmith Emery begin showing the same pregnancy symptoms as before, so everyone sets up camp. Since Gotoubun has already experienced this once, he quickly handles the situation. Emery gives birth to a high ogre boy named Oniwaka, while Spinel gives birth to a human girl named Nicola. Once everyone is safe, the journey continues. On the 115th day, the disguised princess arrives near the royal capital of Osafile. Gotoubun leaves the mothers at the inn while the others head to the Adventurers Guild. Several adventurers challenge him, but he tells them to defeat his 3 lords first, and even offers 5 silver coins as a reward. None of them succeeds, delighting the vampire lord. Gotoubun then promotes his mercenary group Parabellum before shopping with Gobumi and Rubilia. During the trip, he buys a camera from a merchant and later takes countless photos of his children. Gotoubun contacts the other groups, but discovers that the 4th group has no leader and constantly argues. He unexpectedly appoints Hoberin as their leader, despite her concerns about a goblin commanding higher-ranked races. When he contacts Gobukichi's group, he is horrified to see a vision of himself dead. On the 116th day, Gotoubun convinces the princess to take a 2-day detour to the labyrinth city of Griefus because he is worried about Gobukichi's group, and she agrees. The following day, Gotoubun spends time with his children, before finding Gobumi holding the old collar from their goblin days. Feeling nostalgic and saddened that she still has no child of her own, she opens up to him, and he comforts her. On the 118th day, they reach Griefus. Outside the labyrinth, adventurers speak about a minotaur that even a lord failed to defeat. Inside, Gotoubun finds Gobukichi and Gobue in their evolved forms. They explain that a monster inside the labyrinth forces challengers to fight the strongest person they can imagine. Gobukichi imagined Gotoubun, lost, then received the blessing of the god of lightning and later defeated the copy. He has evolved into a new minotaur species, while Gobue has become an earth lord. Before Gotoubun can relax, Gobukichi challenges him to a duel. A huge crowd gathers, as Gobukichi reveals that his goal is to become Goburu's equal so they can truly be friends. Both fight seriously with weapons. Gobukichi combines fire and lightning magic and even destroys Goburu's right eye, but it regenerates instantly. After exchanging powerful attacks, Gotoubun activates solid power, traps Gobukichi, and nearly wins. Gobukichi escapes with a fireball, flies using his shield, and accidentally unleashes a dangerous skill that threatens the spectators. Angry, Gotoubun finishes the fight with the demon eye while remembering the first lesson he ever taught Gobukichi: never eat alone. On the 121st day, the group reaches the royal capital. Amazed by its advanced civilization, Gotoubun follows Princess Rubilia to the palace, where she promises to reward him later. After touring the magnificent palace, they enjoy a grand banquet. The next day, Rubilia gives Gotoubun the princess's memorandum, allowing free access to the capital. When he asks why she trusts him, she reveals that she spent the entire journey analyzing his personality and concluded that someone as intelligent as him would never become the kingdom's enemy. Gotoubun realizes she had only been pretending to be foolish all along. She jokingly adds that the document will make it easier to recruit him for future missions. After saying goodbye to the knight, Gotoubun leaves the capital after secretly spreading his clones throughout the city, convinced they will return someday. On the 124th day, Gobumi is still troubled. She has reached level 89, but has not evolved. Gotoubun trains her by summoning powerful giants. She defeats 5 Fomorians, 10 trolls, and 20 black ogres, yet her level remains unchanged. Gotoubun praises her efforts anyway. Soon afterward, Gobumi collapses, followed by Gotoubun, whose mana has been completely exhausted. During the night, Gobumi evolves into a noble vampire and receives her true name, Hekaterina. On the 126th day, the group finally returns to the forest. They discover that the village has been greatly expanded because the old cave became too small. Gobukichi shows Goburu the new farms, livestock, a new forest guardian, and adorable cat-like creatures skilled with their hands. Suddenly, the priest Seiji rushes over and reveals that Gobuji is dying. Goburu and the others hurry to his side. After meeting Goburo's children, Gobuji proudly hears about everyone's new evolutions. Goburu is now an ogre lord named Aparu, Gobukichi has become Minokichi, Gobumi is now Kanami, and Gobue remains unchanged. Gobuji jokes about Goburo's terrible naming sense before thanking everyone for giving him a meaningful final chapter in life. He peacefully passes away. After cremating him, Goburu holds a Parabellum tournament in his honor. Everyone fights unarmed, and the rankings may affect each member's position within the group. After the matches, Goburu claims first place, Gobukichi second, Gobumi third, Gobue fourth, Hobusato fifth, Hobusei 6th, Netsuki 7th, and Fuki 8th. The celebration ends with everyone sharing a meal together. On the 127th day, Princess Rubelia contacts Goburu with another mission. Although she claims it is simple, Goburu immediately realizes she is hiding something much bigger. Information gathered by his clones confirms his suspicions. Now commanding 400 members, Goburu accepts the request and asks for the details. Finally, everyone changes into matching uniforms as Goburu announces that they are marching toward the royal capital once again. And that, my friend, is how anime ends. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to let us know in the comments. And of course, like and subscribe. Until next time.